Secretary to the Government of the Federation and Chairman of the Presidential Task Force, Honorable Ministers, colleagues, gentlemen of the press. Today, I will follow on the same theme because it's very important. Understandably, we are all craving for a return to some sense of normalcy. And in the past weeks, people have become very anxious about this and have really challenged all the norms that we have tried to introduce across the country. Everywhere around us, we see an increase in high-risk behaviors that is inevitably leading to more transmission. We're seeing cases increase. We're seeing deaths increase. Yes, we know it's hard to completely prevent exposure, but we have to do that which is possible for us to do. Just like we've seen from that video, there are many important lessons to learn from other countries. But there are also many lessons to learn from countries. If any of you has watched events out of Brazil in the last few days and you're Nigerian, you'll be worried because we have a lot in common with Brazil. And yet, they have the second highest death toll in the world right now. If you're also interested in learning what is happening in India, another country that has a lot in common with us, they have the fourth highest number of confirmed cases in the world. We're seeing an increased number of cases, and we really have to think about this in very clear and unambiguous terms. It's not just in Lagos. Yes, our highest number of new cases is still in Lagos, but we're seeing increasing cases in many states across the country. And yes, we have eased the lockdown, not because we wanted to, but because we had to, in order to sustain livelihoods. And the chair of the PTF has referred to this severally. But we simply have to take more responsibility around the three interventions that are in our hands, around mass gatherings, and hand washing. I call them the MMW. Many people call them different things, but it's extremely important that we do more of this. And yes, that a church or a mosque decides to open doesn't make it compulsory for you to attend. Attendance is still a personal choice. That a supermarket in Abuja decides to do a concert doesn't make it compulsory for people to attend. The attendees are making a personal choice. Yes, there will be circumstances where it will be difficult to make those choices. But at least in things around leisure, those are the things that we have to make some personal sacrifice around. And even when airlines open and when travel open, we all have to think very hard. How important is that trip to us? How important is it? And this will be hard choices. The hardest choice is probably that of my brother, the Honorable Minister of State for Education, because we all know how important education is for our children. But we have to do the ones that we can do. And that's really why today you'll see from the chair of the Presidential Task Force, from the Honorable Minister of Health, and from the few comments I'm sharing, we really have to push harder on the things that are in our hands, those things that we can do. If you doubt that they work, you can look at the evidence around it. We must just do it more, do it together, and do it consistently. And yes, behavior change is hard. Many of us lived in Nigeria when the wearing of seatbelts, the not wearing of seatbelts was the norm. But now, everybody goes into a car and puts on a seatbelt. It was a new norm a few years ago that became the norm. So we may not get there with face masks forever, but we do have to do this for the next few months. So we have to make it socially unacceptable to be seen outside the home without your face mask. And we have to hold each other accountable for this. We must push harder on each other to wash hands and surfaces regularly. And finally, we must discourage each other from mass gatherings that are not necessary. In the mass gathering that happened in Abuja that has been all over the social media, there were people there, Nigerians that looked at each other in the eye and said nothing, and celebrated each other for being there. Not a single person stood up and said, in the context of what is happening, for the sake of my parents at home, let's stop this concert. So yes, there will be a lot of discussion about the mall, about the regulations, about the flights, and you will hear some of them. But for me, the most disturbing thing is the people that attended and said nothing and enjoyed that day with everyone else. So I'd like to end by just saying the health of each of us depends on the actions that each of us is going to take over the next few months. Thank you.